I was halfway through my morning coffee when the email arrived. "Thought you might want to see this," read the subject line from Marcos, my old lab assistant. No greeting, no explanation, just a link to a live stream. My finger hesitated over the screen before tapping it open. The annual Biotech Innovation Awards ceremony filled my screen. Red carpet, champagne flutes, sequined dresses catching light. The camera panned to the stage where a sleek, polished woman stood at the podium, her smile brilliant under the spotlights. Cassandra. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. "And I want to thank the entire team at Neurotech for believing in this revolutionary treatment," she was saying, one manicured hand pressed against her heart. When I first conceptualized Neuromend 3 years ago, everyone said it was impossible. My vision blurred. The mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the floor. Neuromend wasn't her concept. It was mine. Every formula, every trial, every breakthrough, all stolen from me. My life's work, now winning her a crystal trophy and standing ovations. I sat frozen, coffee pooling at my feet, as Cassandra beamed into the camera. "This treatment will change millions of lives," she continued. "Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from the darkest moments." The irony made me laugh. A sharp, bitter sound that echoed through my empty apartment. 3 years ago, I had everything. A promising career in neuropharmacology, a breakthrough treatment prototype, and a best friend I trusted with my life. Now, I had nothing but a studio apartment, a job waiting tables, and a shattered coffee mug. And Cassandra? She had it all. My research, my career, my life. I paused the video on her face, radiant, triumphant, celebrated. How easily the world had forgotten about Dr. Eliza Morris, the unstable researcher who'd allegedly falsified data and endangered patients. I closed my laptop with trembling hands. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when I believed friendship meant loyalty and trust. That illusion shattered 3 years ago, the day I was thrown out of my own lab like yesterday's trash. I still remember the exact moment. The board meeting where my research data suddenly showed irregularities. The emails, allegedly from my account, showing unethical shortcuts in testing protocols. The voice recordings, somehow edited to make me sound desperate, unhinged. And Cassandra, tears in her eyes, voice breaking as she told the board, "I can't believe Eliza would do this." I trusted her. We all did. Within 24 hours, I was escorted from the building. No copies of my research allowed. No access to my files. My reputation in scientific circles destroyed overnight. I tried calling colleagues, other researchers, former professors, one by one. They stopped answering. Their silence became a wall I couldn't climb. "You altered test results," they said. "You risked patient safety," they claimed. "You were jealous of Cassandra's success," they whispered. Eventually, I did what broken people do. I disappeared. I moved to a small apartment across the country, waited tables, avoided scientific journals, changed my email, tried to forget. But somewhere deep inside, I knew. Data doesn't change itself. Files don't delete themselves. Cassandra's success wasn't coincidental. It was calculated. The email from Marcos was the first crack in my prison walls. After the live stream ended, another message arrived with a simple sentence. "I found something you should see." Marcos had been a quiet, observant lab assistant, someone Cassandra had apparently overlooked when executing her plan. He'd stayed at the company after my departure, watching, waiting, collecting breadcrumbs. "She's been sloppy lately," his message read. "Getting comfortable with her success. Left her laptop unlocked during a celebration party last week. I made a copy of some interesting files." The attachment contained screenshots of emails between Cassandra and someone named Andrew from legal, dated weeks before my dismissal. They discussed how to quietly access my research server, the best methods to discredit me, and detailed plans to revoke my access once the situation was handled. My hands shook as I scrolled through the evidence. This wasn't opportunistic betrayal, it was premeditated destruction. Another file contained modified versions of my research data alongside the originals. Clear proof of tampering. There were recorded meeting notes where Cassandra pitched her breakthrough to investors just days after my departure. She hadn't even bothered to change the name. Neuramend was always my creation, down to the name I'd scribbled in my private research journal. The final file was a photo, Cassandra at some corporate retreat, champagne glass raised, wearing the vintage jade pendant I'd left in my desk drawer the day security escorted me out. My heart pounded against my ribs, not from shock anymore, but from something hotter, more powerful. I had been erased, replaced, forgotten, but now I had proof. I called Marcos that night. "Why now?" I asked. "Why help me after all this time?" His voice was quiet on the line. "Because what she did to you, she's starting to do to others. There's a new researcher with promising work. Last week, I overheard Cassandra talking about handling the situation. That night, I barely slept. By morning, something had crystallized inside me, hard and clear as diamond. If they wanted to erase Dr. Eliza Morris, they were about to discover just how permanently I could reappear. The biotechnology conference where Cassandra would receive her prestigious Innovator of the Year award was exactly 2 weeks away. Tickets were sold out, security would be tight, and every important person in the industry would be there. Perfect. I spent the next 14 days building my case, organizing evidence, securing affidavits from former colleagues who'd suspected something was wrong but had been afraid to speak up. I contacted a lawyer specializing in intellectual property theft. "This is solid," she said, reviewing my files. "We can file formal charges, but it will take time." I shook my head. "I don't have time. They're giving her the industry's highest honor in 9 days for stealing my life's work." The lawyer leaned forward. "What exactly are you planning?" I smiled. "Justice, with an audience." The night of the ceremony arrived, cool and clear. I stood outside the gleaming hotel where, inside, Cassandra would soon take the stage to accept her award. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my hands were steady. The security guard examined my credentials, a press pass Marcos had helped secure, and waved me through. Inside, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers and success. Scientists, investors, and pharmaceutical executives in formal wear mingled over champagne, celebrating innovation and genius. I moved through the crowd like a ghost. No one recognized me with my new hair color, designer dress, and 3 years of hardship reshaping my face. I was both invisible and hyper-aware, catching snippets of conversation as I passed. Cassandra's breakthrough is revolutionary. Neurotech's stock has tripled since Neuramend. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I took a position near the stage, where I could see everything. Cameras were being positioned for the award presentation. The CEO of the Biomedical Innovation Foundation adjusted his bow tie at the podium, and then she appeared. Cassandra glided through the crowd in a midnight blue gown, stopping for air kisses and handshakes. My jade pendant, my grandmother's pendant, hung at her throat, catching the light with every practiced laugh. She looked radiant, untouchable, complete. The lights dimmed. The ceremony began. Awards were presented for various achievements, each met with polite applause. I barely heard them. My focus narrowed to the final category, the moment approaching like an oncoming train. "And now, for our highest honor," the CEO announced, "the Innovator of the Year Award, celebrating groundbreaking advancement in medical science." The crowd hushed. A video began playing on the large screens. Cassandra's carefully crafted story of inspiration and perseverance, her journey to creating Neuramend, my journey, my research, my life. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Cassandra Pierce, the E. Room erupted in applause. Cassandra rose gracefully, embraced colleagues at her table, and ascended the steps to the stage. Her smile was radiant as she accepted the crystal trophy, holding it up to catch the light. "Thank you," she began, voice steady and practiced. "This recognition means everything to me. Neuramend represents years of dedication and countless sleepless nights." I moved silently toward the side stairs of the stage, my folder of evidence clutched in my hands. A security guard glanced at me, but my press pass and confident stride kept him from stopping me. Cassandra continued, "Science is about persistence through failure. When everyone said my approach was impossible, I took the first step onto the stage, then another. I knew in my heart that this treatment could change lives forever." The spotlight operator noticed me first, his expression confused as I walked calmly toward the podium. A murmur rippled through the audience. Cassandra, mid-sentence, turned to see what had distracted them. Our eyes met. Her words died in her throat. The color drained from her face so quickly I thought she might faint. The crystal award trembled in her grip. "Eliza," she whispered, the microphone catching her voice and carrying it across the suddenly silent room. I smiled, not in anger, but in calm certainty. "Hello, Cassandra. Please don't stop on my account. You were explaining how you created Neuramend?" She stepped back, nearly tripping on her gown. "What are you doing here?" I approached the podium slowly, deliberately. The audience was frozen, hundreds of eyes watching this unexpected scene unfold. Cameras that had been recording her triumph were now capturing her unraveling. "I thought I should be present," I said, voice clear and carrying to every corner of the ballroom. "When my research received such prestigious recognition," the silence in the room deepened. Cassandra's eyes darted to the exits, to the security guards, to the executives at the front tables, but everyone was too shocked to move. I placed my folder on the podium and opened it. 3 years ago, Dr. Pierce told you all I was unstable, unethical, that I falsified research data. I kept my voice measured, professional. Tonight, I have evidence proving it was Dr. Pierce who falsified data, my data, after systematically removing me from my own project. I held up the first document, emails between Cassandra and legal, planning my removal. "This is premeditated intellectual theft." Gasps rippled through the audience. Phones were raised, recording. "And this," I continued, holding up the data comparison. "Sheets. Shows my original research alongside the altered versions submitted after my dismissal. Notice the timestamps, the server access logs, the identical methodologies." Cassandra found her voice, though it shook. "These are lies. Eliza was always jealous of my success." "Was I jealous before you stole my work, Cassandra?" I interrupted. "Or after? Because these emails planning my professional execution are dated weeks before any allegations against me surfaced." The room erupted in whispers. A woman at the front table, the FDA commissioner, was frowning deeply, leaning to speak urgently to her colleague. "And this," I said, pointing to the pendant at Cassandra's throat, "is my grandmother's jade pendant, left in my desk drawer the day security escorted me out. Should I describe the small chip on the back, shaped like a crescent moon? The inscription inside the setting?" Cassandra's hand flew to the pendant, her face a mask of horror. "You didn't. Just take my research," I said, quieter now but still into the microphone. "You took my reputation, my career, my life." The CEO stepped forward, his expression grave. "Dr. Morris, these are serious allegations." "Yes, they are," I agreed, which is why copies of all this evidence have already been sent to the Scientific Ethics Board, the Patent Office, the FDA, and 3 independent research verification teams. Neuramend works because it's exactly as I designed it. The formulas are mine. The trials were based on my protocols. The patients being helped are being helped by my work. I turned to look directly at Cassandra, whose perfectly composed facade had crumbled completely. I didn't come here tonight for revenge, Cassandra. I came for restoration. Security was moving toward the stage now, but not to remove me, to position themselves near Cassandra, whose panicked expression confirmed every word I'd said more effectively than any document could. "You can keep the award," I said, stepping back from the podium. "I'll take my life back." The room erupted, some standing, others shouting questions, cameras flashing like lightning. Through the chaos, I walked calmly off the stage, past stunned executives and wide-eyed reporters. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My heart wasn't racing. For the first time in 3 years, I felt whole. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. I took a deep breath and looked up at the stars, bright and clear above the city lights. My phone buzzed with notifications. Journalists, former colleagues, legal representatives all suddenly remembering I existed. I silenced it and slipped it back into my purse. There would be time for all of that tomorrow. Tonight was about reclaiming what was stolen. Not just my research, but my voice. 3 months later, I sat in a sunlit office, my name freshly painted on the door. Dr. Eliza Morris, Research Director. The investigation had been swift and thorough. Neurotech's board, desperate to salvage their reputation and stock prices, had offered me not just my old position, but a promotion, control of my research, and a public apology. Cassandra faced criminal charges for fraud, intellectual property theft, and evidence tampering. The jade pendant had been returned to me, along with something more valuable, my reputation. On my desk sat the latest scientific journal, featuring a full correction acknowledging me as the true creator of Neuramend. Beside it was a letter from a young patient whose life had been transformed by the treatment. "Thank you for not giving up," it read. I traced my fingers over the words, smiling softly. Sometimes you have to be erased before you can write your own story again. And this time, I was writing it in permanent ink.